I just disembarked Star of the Seas, and oh boy, do I have material for you. If you've been following Cruising After 50, you know my philosophy. Is the best cruise ship the one I'm on right now? And can we find a millionaire lifestyle without the tax bill? But Star of the Seas is a floating city, not a boat. It made me envision the future of cruising, and quite frankly, it is a bit startling. Do you want a glimpse of it? Write future in the comments below. This is the world's largest cruise ship, so it deserves my longest review ever. This isn't a quick tour, it's a masterclass in finding sophistication on a ship currently hosting 2,500 children. Yes, 2,500 miniature humans. I'll cover the big questions. Does it feel like a floating theme park or a luxury resort? People are terrified that the presence of Frill Island and Surfside means they'll be trapped in a 20-deck version of Chuck E. Cheese. Is the Hideaway actually relaxing, or is it just a loud pool party? As the dedicated adults-only space, there is a lot of curiosity about whether it replaced the beloved quiet solarium effectively. And can I actually avoid the 2,500 plus kids on board? On a ship this size, the fear of Kid-Mageddon is real. What the hell is this Infinite Verandah balcony cabiny thingy? That is the love-hate point for this class of ships. Immediately, with these questions in mind, you can already imagine that this is a family cruise ship. There is zero doubt about that. It's a floating playground of epic proportions. Now, the million-dollar question for us is, what about the non-family cruisers? What about those of us who prefer a vintage Bordeaux to a blue slushy? Is it possible to find a sophisticated lane, or are we just guests at a very expensive 5-year-old's birthday party? Stick around, because we're also covering the value bits, the brochure's hide, and the holy trinity of luxury that makes the price tag feel like a bargain. First question everyone asks, does it feel like a ship? Honestly, no. If you want the romantic toss and turn of the ocean, you're in the wrong place. This ship is so stable, I'm convinced it's actually bolted to the sea floor. It's a resort by the sea. Everything is huge, mostly indoors, and the scale is so vast, you forget you're moving. For us, no seasickness, but it does lack that maritime soul. It feels like a high-end hotel in Las Vegas that someone accidentally pushed into the Caribbean. The scale is so vast, it has a collateral effect no one expected. The people on mobility scooters are terrified. They don't know if, when they start their journey across a deck, they'll reach another power outlet before the battery dies. It's a literal scooter safari out there. Now, I've used words like big, huge, and humongous, but we need to talk about the sheer sorcery of the logistics. You'd expect that with 10,000 souls on board, every move would feel like a commute in downtown Manhattan. But the reality, I never once felt that crowd. The efficiency is, quite frankly, startling. Whether we're embarking or heading out for a shore excursion, the speed at which they move people on and off this vessel is smoother than a Swiss watch. Even in the main dining room, which is large enough to have its own weather system, the service is lightning fast. You aren't waiting for your sea bass. It's arriving before you've even finished complaining about the price of the wine. And speaking of wine, let's talk about the champagne standard. In my experience, every time I requested a bottle of bubbles for the group, a perfectly chilled vintage would materialize out of thin air. We're talking 6 glasses and 2 highly coordinated waiters who could empty that bottle for us in under 18 seconds flat. It's that level of blink and you'll miss it luxury that makes you forget there are 7,000 other guests on board. It's as if the ship has been designed to make you feel like the only person the crew is actually worried about. That, my friend, is how you manage a mega resort with the soul of a private yacht. The Hideaway dilemma. Then there's the Hideaway, the adults-only sanctuary. It's chic, yes, but here is the insider warning. While no kids are allowed in, the way the ship is built, they can see in from the decks above. It's a bit like being an exhibit at a very fancy zoo. If you're planning to behave like a millionaire on his 4th divorce, just remember the kids are watching from the balcony above. And a word on the atmosphere. It can be a Zen garden at 10 a.m. and a Vegas pool party by 3 p.m. Know your limits, but more on the Hideaway later. The kid avoidance strategy. Can you avoid the 2,500 kids? Yes, but it's an expensive game of hide and seek. Avoid Surfside like it's a tax audit. Stay away from the buffet. If you want a truly kid-free cruise, you book Viking or Virgin. But on Royal, the millionaire mindset is about curating your space. Let them have the water slides. We'll take the schooner bar. The Infinite Verandah versus traditionally balcony dilemma. People are still confused by the window that drops down. Unanswered question. Does it actually feel like a balcony, or does it just feel like a room with a big window? And more importantly, does the AC actually shut off when it's open? Do your research when choosing your cabin. There is a lot of decisions to be made. Do you want to look at the ocean, or do you want to look at your neighbors? And if you want to see your neighbors, do you want the relaxed views of Central Park or the 2,500 kids screaming while overlooking at the Surfside neighborhood? There are essays the size of Tolstoy novels on this topic. I confess, I leave it for the other channels out there that don't value your time, but I will tell you which one I selected. What about the neighborhood concept? Is it a genuine lifesaver for the sophisticated traveler, or does it just create a gilded maze of confusion? Before we dive into this ghettoization of luxury, let's pull back the curtain on the things the glossy brochures conveniently forget to tell you. Let's talk cabins. Everyone is buzzing about the Infinite Verandah. It's a window that rolls down halfway. That's it. I'm going to be a bit of a traditionalist here. I opted for the traditionally balcony. Why? Because a gentleman wants to stop out into the salt air. I want to lean on the railing with my morning coffee, not just sit in my room with a big window open. If you want to feel like you're on a ship, stick with the traditional. And when I say traditional, I mean a veranda facing the ocean, not your neighbors. Then there's a Playmaker sports bar. Finding it is like a treasure hunt, because it's tucked away behind the shop to the left of the entrance to the Surfside neighborhood. You basically only find it the day you want to get to the absolute zero. You have to go through it to get to the ice rink show. Ironically, it was the location for my master drill. I was the only person in history who enjoyed the safety briefing because I had a cold draft beer and a wall of TVs in front of me. It's a great spot for casual lunch when you want to escape the neighborhood noise. No, it isn't. It is loud, just like a sports bar should be. The Hideaway replaced the solarium as the kids-free area. And for some, it does it very well, and for others, it is a complete disaster. So this area is not covered. It is exposed to the elements. This thins out the crowd that used to go to the solarium, and also it has stairs to get there, so further thinning of the adults that can't use the stairs. It has a bar and not a restaurant, so it tends to be for the more party-goer adults. A quick tip for the sun seekers. The Hideaway has a shadow problem because it's at the aft and uncovered. Depending on which way the ship is sailing, you might be in total darkness by 2 p.m. And if you're paying for luxury, you want the sun. Check the ship's heading before you settle in for the day. The elevators are smart now. Star uses destination entry elevators. You pick the floor before you get in. It's faster, but it leads to a lot of over 50s standing around looking like they're waiting for a bus. Just look confident, press your floor, and don't let the technology smell your fear. But is it actually faster for people with mobility concerns, or does it create a confusing lobby huddle? You press the elevator button, check which elevator, do a speed run with your scooter to the door of that elevator. Well, just press the mobility assistance button and it will try to get a lift as close to you as possible. And what about the entertainment? Do we really need to talk about it? It is Royal Caribbean after all. They don't just put on a show, they build a stadium for it and then add a waterfall just for the drama. But let's dive in. First, the Aquadome. It is spectacular because the Aqua Theater is now indoors and climate controlled. It's no longer subject to the whims of the element. I remember the Oasis class days where a stiff breeze meant a cancelled show. Now it's much more reliable. The main show is called Torque, and it's a high-tech feast of synchronized swimmers and divers that will leave you breathless. However, a word of caution for the millionaire travel. The Aquadome also hosts a show called Pirates and Mermaids. My advice? Skip it. Unless you have a sudden, inexplicable urge to be surrounded by the highest concentration of those 2,500 kids, all screaming at once. Give it a wide berth. It's the epicenter of Kid-Mageddon. Well, stay at the bar, thank you very much. Then there's Absolute Zero, the ice rink. The show is called Soul, and it's pure bliss. It's high-speed, energetic, and the choreography is generally world-class. There's something about watching people do backflips on ice at 30 miles an hour that makes my morning stroll to the coffee bar feel decidedly lazy. At the Royal Theatre, we had Back to the Future, the musical. Now, I must take my hat off to the level of production here. The theatre really allows for these mega productions. We're talking 1985 rockets, special effects, and the DeLorean that probably costs more than my first house. Personally, I prefer a simple song and dance show where I don't have to follow the plot. I'm on vacation, my brain is off. But for a Broadway caliber experience that's included in your fare, it's a masterclass. They also have a show called Create, featuring a robot named KRE8 for those who want something a bit more avant-garde. Outside the main stages, these venues host the classics. You'll find a captain's meeting and even a live version of The Price is Right. Yes, you can actually come on down and compete for cash or even a car. I don't think the DeLorean. Just make sure your phone is charged. They use an app for the bidding, which is very future, isn't it? And if you aren't into the big spectacles, the ship is dripping with live music. Boleros is there for your mojito and merengue fix. Lou's Jazz and Blues in Central Park provides that sophisticated soul. And Dwelling Pianos is the place to be if you want to shout "Swing Caroline" with 500 strangers. And of course there's the Casino Royale for all those who love to see their hard-earned money go down the drain with a side of free cocktails. It's the one place on the ship where the millionaire mindset can be corrected very, very quickly by a slot machine. While the neighborhood design doesn't fully insulate you from every inconvenience, you'll still have to share the elevator with a sticky-fingered 7-year-old eventually. It does something brilliant. It distributes the masses according to their tastes. Think of it as a natural selection process for vacationers. The families are magnetically pulled towards Surfside or the Frills Island water slides. They stay there, they eat there, they thrive there, and that's exactly what we want. Because while they are waiting in line for a merry-go-round and an ice cream, we are gravitating toward neighborhoods that match a more refined frequency. Me, personally, I lived in the Aquadome. This is the home to a tasteful coffee bar that feels light years away from the chaos. Sitting at the overlook, sipping an espresso martini, while watching the night skies through these massive panes of glass. That is where the millionaire feeling resides. I spent my mornings taking slow walks across the Central Park neighborhood. It's lush, it's quiet, and it smells like real plants instead of chlorine. And then, of course, there is the sweet neighborhood. Some might call it boring because there isn't a DJ or a climbing wall inside. But to me, boring is a luxury. Boring means I can hear my own thoughts and the clink of the ice in my glass. The ship is a giant, yes, but by choosing your neighborhood wisely, you aren't just a passenger on a mega ship. You are a member of a private club that just happens to have a theme park attached to the other end of it. Now, how do we live the luxury? It starts with geography. The Sweet Neighborhood on decks 16 through 19 is a private country club. If you book a sunset suite at the very back for the view, you'll be walking 3 miles a day just to get to breakfast. A true millionaire lives next door to the chef. Of course, you could hide in your room and order room service, but then how would the world ever witness your latest investment in sequined swim shorts? The Sky and Star Class experience is where the millionaire feeling peaks. In Sky Class, you get Coastal Kitchen for every meal. It is the only place on the ship that consistently feels sophisticated, quiet, and exclusive. Coastal Kitchen is the country club of the sea. The service isn't robotic. They know your name, they know your drink, and they know you don't want to hear Baby Shark for the 10th time today. When we talk about living like a millionaire, we aren't just talking about the gold trim on the elevator. We're talking about the service. On a ship carrying nearly 10,000 souls, you'd expect to be just another barcode. But in the Coastal Kitchen, the game changes. Because this space is reserved exclusively for the elite, the Sky and Star Class guests, the staff doesn't have the impossible task of memorizing the names of 7,000 strangers every week. Instead, they focus on us. By the second morning, you aren't Sir or Table 42. You're the gentleman who prefers his coffee at 180 degrees and his seat facing the window. It's that bespoke, personalized touch that makes you feel like the owner of the vessel rather than a temporary tenant. They know your preferences, they anticipate your needs, they provide that quiet, seamless attention that the masses in the windjammer will never know exists. But when you reserve a suite, you don't necessarily make it to the suite neighborhood. Check well the location of the cabin. You have suites in the hood, and you have suites scattered all around the ship. If you are traveling with your kids, you'd rather be in a family suite close to the surfside neighborhood. There are the junior suites, you kind of want to avoid these, and then you have the Sky Class and Star Class. Sky Class, this is the smart luxury. You get Coastal Kitchen for all meals and access the suite sun deck. Star Class, this is the actual millionaire. It includes the Royal Genie, and they handle your reservations, whisk you to the front of the lines, and even stock your minibar with your favorite labels. And outside the suites, how to find the Old Royal. People ask, does the size make it impersonal? It can. But the gentleman finds the Old Royal pockets. The Schooner Bar and the 1400 Bar are your sanctuaries. These bars have the classic soul of cruising. While the rest of the ship is screaming on a water slide, these spots remain filled with people who know how to appreciate a popper cocktail and a conversation you can actually hear. And very important, the ristretto secret. If you want to feel like a gentleman, do not drink your coffee from a paper cup at the Pearl Cafe. Head to the Coffee and Rye near the Overlook at the Aquadome. Ask for a ristretto in a ceramic cup. Sitting there, overlooking the sea with real china in your hand, that is the moment you realize you've won the cruise game. Probably you will be the only one asking for such an exclusive drink. The baristas will remember you, and if you are in the queue for the coffee, they will make a secret signal, recognizing you, and you give the secret reply. And you will have your coffee ready even before the queue moves. And you see, yeah, Larry takes care of my espresso ristretto, just like Italian, every morning. Thank you. If you want to feel like a millionaire, you have to eat like one, even if you don't have access to the Coastal Kitchen. There are 3 experiences you cannot skip. Well, actually, even if you have access to the Coastal Kitchen, you shouldn't skip. 1. Chops, grills, and hooked. These are your standard luxuries, reliable, excellent, and far from the madding crowd. 2nd, the chef's table. This is the most exclusive ticket on the ship. It's intimate, curated, and feels like a private dinner party in a billionaire's penthouse. 3rd, Lincoln Park Supper Club. This is the crown jewel. People ask, is it worth the $200 price? Yes, it's 1930s Chicago, jazz, 6 courses of incredible food, and a vibe that makes you feel you want to wear a tuxedo even if you didn't pack one. It is the peak of luxury on this ship. So, is Star of the Seas too big? Maybe. Does it feel like a resort? Definitely. But if you want to navigate it with a millionaire mindset, it's a playground like no other. And remember, when you eat Coco Cay, the Coco Beach Club is mandatory. If you aren't in Overwater Cabana, are you even cruising? I have a whole video on that right here to show you exactly how to do it. Until next time, keep it witty, keep it luxury, and I'll see you at the schooner.